Hello, hello, and welcome back to Gaia's Wisdom Podcast, where this week we're talking about so much I don't even know where to start. So we have Friday the 13th and exalted feminine with the Lord of Karma, Saturn, starting a new 30-year cycle. We have the final shedding of the snake as the fire horse gallops in, the old consciousness eclipsing, escapist tendencies, and once in 6,000 years planetary ignition points. I mean, wow. So let's just start with right now, as I'm recording this on Friday the 13th, with a loving reminder that today is not an unlucky day for you, and even less so if you're a woman. See, 13 is not unlucky or sinister. True that in tarot it's associated with the card of death, but really death is a new beginning. And rather than unlucky, I would say that 13 is mysterious. And it's also a little inconvenient because it defies being put in a neat framework, including my own. 13 is the number of full moons in a solar cycle. It's also the average number of periods that a woman has in a year. Ophiuchus is the 13th constellation on the sun's ecliptic, but it doesn't get to be a zodiac sign. Mary Magdalene is the 13th apostle, and so much more than that. But if she's lucky, she gets acknowledged as a hooker. And Friday is ruled by Venus, the very archetype of all things feminine. Now, I'm just giving you the dots. Connect them as you will. I just know that I won't be tricked into fearing Friday the 13th or assuming that something bad is going to happen to me today. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Now, since we were just speaking of Venus, I want to say that she's really happy right now because she entered Pisces on Tuesday. And astrologers say that she is exalted here. Now, the very word exalted implies that we get to anticipate good stuff for all things feminine and everything else that Venus rules and represents. So, love, relationships, beauty, harmony, desire, pleasure, enjoyment, sensuality, attraction and magnetism, values and worthiness, money flow, fertility, arts and aesthetics, like all these good things are getting a boost of good vibes right now. And that opens us up for receptivity and receiving and gratitude and appreciation and really a feminine power that is soft but undeniable. Now, some of the more shadowy patterns to look for in this energy, or to pay attention to rather, are dependency, people-pleasing, possessiveness, envy, overindulgence, vanity, and even laziness. And physically speaking, in your body, Venus corresponds to skin, hair, your lips, throat, kidneys, and the female hormonal system. And I'm just bringing that up in case you notice something shifting in any of these areas. Now, Venus in Pisces, when I feel into this energy, what I get is a Jane Austen character kind of vibe. You know, she's just sitting there in her watercolor painted picture perfect world, bored of her tutors and chaperones and etiquette and music classes, just staring out the window across the rose gardens and dreaming of her prince riding in on a fire horse. Now, there's a plot twist that we'll get to in a moment. I just wanted to add that Mercury, the mind, is also in Pisces right now. I wrote about that last week, which makes it harder to think, but easier to soften into all of these Venusian vibes, especially once the sun, the consciousness, plunges us into Pisces season on the 18th of February. Now, all this Piscean energy tends to make us feel like we're floating a few inches above the ground somewhere, detached from reality. And that has its pitfalls. But I think at this time, it's going to feel really soothing because everything else about the current energies is fire, fire, and more fire. So let's talk about Saturn in Aries. The timekeeper, the lord of karma, and the one that makes things real, so Saturn, is shifting from Pisces to Aries on Friday the 13th or on Valentine's Day, depending on where in the world you currently are. And he's starting a whole new 29.5-year cycle. And he's also hitting that 0 degrees of Aries, the creation point of infinite potential. Now, we just dabbed into the Piscean energy enough for you to know that it's not exactly Saturn's vibe. Saturn is the part of us that wants to get shit done, the one that puts his head down and works for it. You know, Saturn also rules Capricorn. So if you want to get a better feel for that, go back to the January episode about the Capricorn new moon. Now, Saturn obviously couldn't do what he likes doing in Pisces. But Aries is a whole other story. Aries is the initiator, and he's lighting a fire under Saturn's ass. And the things you've been stuck or stalling on, because procrastination, avoidance, escapism, those are all a part of Pisces MO. And so all those things that you have been stuck or stalling on are now getting a boost that's so intense, it could feel destabilizing. Now, for many of us and our big dreams, that's good news, but it's also a lot for the body and particularly for the nervous system. On that note, Saturn relates to your skeletal system, especially the spine, and lower back is already where the energy is at right now. So pay attention to that. It also relates to your teeth and your skin in terms of your boundaries. So that's just for you to notice if anything shows up there. Beyond the physical, though that is Saturn's realm, you know, he's the one that makes things manifest in the real world. But beyond that, expect to notice that over the next days and weeks, your boundaries sharpen, your decisions become unavoidable, whether you like it or not. Your self-trust becomes non-negotiable, and your new identity gets built through courageous action taking. Now, this is the vibe that will be operating from over the next 2 years, and we're bound to get a lot done with it, especially since there are other similar energies at play now that are magnifying it. And the most obvious one is the fire horse. And I know everyone is talking about it, but it's so big that we cannot not mention it in this context. So, in case you've been living under a rock, 2026 is the year of the fire horse in Chinese astrology, and it officially begins with the Lunar New Year on the new moon in Aquarius on February 17th. Now feel into it. Fire. Horse. It's very similar to the Saturn in Aries vibes. The horse is the sign of movement, freedom, independence, charisma, momentum, restlessness. We keep horses in stables and pastures, but really, they're wild creatures. And they are herd animals, which is an important consideration in this power to the people revolution we're in the midst of, knowingly or not. Fire is the most yang, most masculine of the elements. It's about visibility, courage, volatility, ignition, intensity, and passion. Now put those two together, and what you get is a year of rapid change, bold moves, high emotional intensity, breakthroughs and breakdowns, big risks, big rewards, a strong drive towards independence, and very little patience towards whatever is still moving slowly. And I say, yay, because the world needs some of that right now, as does your life. But can you hear your nervous system squeal in horror now? I know I keep repeating that, but it really is important this year. Now, let's move on, because the Fire Horse Lunar New Year is not the only big thing happening on February 17th. Because that new moon in Aquarius is also a solar eclipse. And we haven't had one of those since 2018, or even 2008 and 2009, if you take the nodal axis into account. And I'm not going to bog you down with astrology. I'm just bringing it up for you to ask yourself, what was ending or completing in my life in February 2018 that is somehow resonant with what is now beginning? And also, what was beginning for me in February 2008 and or January 2009 that is similar to what I am going through right now? For broader context, think in terms of your friends, your social networks, groups you're a part of, your humanitarianism and activism, innovative solutions, futuristic ideas, and unconventional paths. But for personal insight, also check the house that it's all happening in for you. Now, personal example. For me, these eclipses fall into the house of intimate relationships, committed unions, and one-on-one partnerships. In February 2018, I was ending an 8-year committed relationship. So that's the personal level. And that then had important consequences for my social networks. And I did start spending a lot more time with my friend. So that's the broader context that I mentioned. Now, how does that relate to something that I'm now beginning? I don't know yet, but I expect to have more clarity on that towards the end of next week, when the eclipse dust settles a little, because then we have another eclipse coming up at the beginning of March. Now, on this personal note, and I'll wrap it up here because I can feel that I'm bombarding you just as intensely as these current energies are, and I don't think you need that right now. What you might need, though, or want at this moment in time, is the kind of personal insight I just shared with you. And if that's the case, and you don't already know how to look all that up for yourself, I just want you to know that I'm about to open a rare opportunity where I'll be doing a personalized plan for you for the entire year ahead. And that's actually another thing that's happening on Tuesday, February the 17th. That's when applications open, and I'll be sending the link to the sign up page out via email on that day. But I'm just giving you a heads up now because I do only have 6 spots available because I actually do all of these roadmaps personally. Like they're not AI generated. Now, before I finish, I want to add that there is a huge once in 6,000 years meetup between Saturn and Neptune happening next week at that notorious 0 degrees of Aries creation point. But I feel that we can leave that for then. We already have enough going on. As for now, and these last few days of the wood snake leading up to the notorious Tuesday when everything changes in a split second, or does it? Here's my plan. Number 1, intentional shedding. Whatever comes up for me these days that I don't like in myself or in other people or in certain situations, I go total weirdo mode and I declare out loud, I am no longer energetically available for this. Also, Saturn in Aries loves boundaries. So this one's a double win. Number 2 is cleaning and clearing. Now, I've been cleaning my body for some time now. Not the intense kind of spring detox thing, because it's not the time for that yet, but I will tell you when it will be. I'm just really releasing and letting go of all the habits and indulgences and even escapist strategies that are just plain harmful. And also, this weekend, I intend to clean my house, one of those deep cleanings. And more than anything, declutter my work area, finish up all the little bits and pieces that are waiting for those final touches, and just create some space for me to create in. Third is resting. And I know it's getting harder to do that, and I talked about that last week. But at the same time, this is the last window of opportunity before the explosion of spring and the fire energies. So the moon is waning. I'm luteal, which might not be the case for you, but it is for me. The weather sucks where I am, which again might not be the case for you, but it is for me. The weekend is coming up and it's winter break next week where I'm at. So for me, sleep it is. I'm going to be gathering the energy for whatever is happening next week. All right, now that's a wrap. It was a lot, I know, because I even feel a little out of breath after throwing it all out there in one sitting, but you know, that's the vibe. Or is it me? I don't know. As ever, I'd love to know how all of this is coming up for you. So leave a comment wherever you're listening to this and let me know. Oh, by the way, with so much going on right now, like we really are entering one of the most energetically intense weeks, periods of 2026, I do feel that I want to give more focus to this new moon solar eclipse beginning of the fire horse year, because I think all of us should know where this is hitting us personally in our charts, in our specific areas of life. So I will do another post/audio guide on this specifically at the beginning of next week for my paid subscribers on Substack. If that's something that you want to have, you can jump in there now. It's super affordable. If not, I'll talk to you again on Friday next week, where we'll talk about all these things that felt like TMI for today. And we'll also reflect a little on how this Tuesday and all of it went. So I'll talk to you then. As always, I'm sending you so much love. Bye for now.